So, I was going to start with a question. What do people think the average lifespan is of the S&P 500, the companies on the S&P 500 index? Anybody seen this research? Can we shout out some numbers?
17.
17. You've seen the research, haven't you? So this is the research that was done. This is a few years ago now, which is showing that it's kind of on average now the companies on the S&P 500 last less than 20 years, whereas back down in the 1960s it was around about 60 years, and you can see that the trend's going down. So these large companies are surviving for shorter periods of time. This is a nice example. So who's got this icon on their smartphone? I'm seeing a few hands go up. So this is WhatsApp. They were only formed in June 2009, so 5 or 6 years ago. And then I think this was January 2014. So again, this research is about a year out of date now. But January 2014, they had 400 million active users. So in about 5 years, they'd gone from nothing to 400 million active users. And on New Year's Eve 2013, going into New Year's Day 2014, those active users sent 45 billion messages. That's kind of huge numbers. And it's estimated that traditional mobile phone providers lost about $32.5 billion in revenue because people were sending messages with WhatsApp and not sending their SMS texts. So I don't know about you, but certainly I couldn't afford to lose that amount of money. So the mobile phone operators are surviving, but they're still losing huge chunks of revenue. So we need to find new ways of running organizations. The old traditional ways of having a big organization, setting up your business model and just kind of sticking with it doesn't work anymore because the technologies are changing and landscapes are changing, and this is where Agile and Lean and Agile fit in. So we need to find things like becoming learning organizations. So the fifth discipline, book written by Peter Zenge, he talked about this model of 5 things that learning organizations should be able to do. And for me, when we're using Lean and Agile, what we're trying to do is help organizations become learning organizations. So having organizations having the shared vision, what is it we're trying to do? Shared mental model, so we can all talk about that shared vision in the same way. Putting teams together, so then teams can learn how they can work together, using those mental models to deliver on the shared vision. And then allowing personal mastery, allowing people to learn and improve. And systems thinking is the 5th discipline, looking at it holistically. So this is how he defines a learning organization. When people continually expand their capacity to create the results they truly desire, and where people are learning how to learn together. I like the second one the most, because it's not just about learning, it's learning how to learn. So I like this how can I help organizations become learning organizations? How do we do that with Lean and Agile? And then I'll talk about how A3s fit into that. But one take on A3s, I kind of like to play around with words. Here's another form of A3s, 3 words that begin with A. So we want to help organizations become agile. If we can be agile as organizations and use these agile techniques, then we can be more responsive. We can learn what the market needs. We can get rapid feedback. But we need everybody to be aligned. It's no good if we've just got pockets of agile in the organizations. We've got the odd team doing agile really well. If not everybody's aligned, and that's not just aligned across multiple teams, it's aligned with marketing, it's aligned with sales, it's aligned with HR, so everybody's pulling together. And we want organizations to be absorbent. So this is bringing in some of the complexity thinking. The old organizations are not surviving anymore because they're not absorbent, they're very rigid. They've been set up to work in a certain way, and that's worked really, really well for decades. But now, because the technology is changing, they can't survive. They're being kind of knocked down and they can't get up again. So this idea of resilience, we want organizations to be resilient, the ability to recover from adversity. If you've got kids are really good at showing resilience because they fall over, have a little cry, and then they just get back up again. Whereas those organisations on the S&P 500, falling over, having a little cry, and not getting up again. So we want to help organisations become resilient. Let's talk a bit about Agile. For me, Agile grew out of delivering products. How can we deliver products better? And probably, you know your history. Started off in Snowbird. A load of guys got together in Snowbird to talk about, well, we're working on projects in a slightly different way from normal. let's come up with some ways of understanding the commonality, and the Agile Manifesto came out. And the Agile Manifesto for me was very inspiring, and really it resonated with me. That's what got me into doing what I do now. But it was in 2001, so it's nearly 15 years ago now. What have we learnt since then? It was a great document and a great rabble-rousing cry, kind of war cry to get people thinking about this. But we've learnt a lot since then. One of them, I think, that's interesting is Lean Startup, so the old build, measure, learn cycle. And this got people thinking about, okay, we can build products better, and we can deliver products now, but how do we know what the right product is? Let's focus on building the right thing. And what happens if we haven't got a customer? How do we do customer discovery? There's a really nice talk that Kent Beck did a few years back, where he took the manifesto, and given that he was one of the manifesto signatories and authors, he's allowed to do this. So he took it and said, well, what have I learned? I don't know if you've seen this, and he's not published it anywhere, but you can watch the talk. It was at the Startup Conf. He said, well, okay, the manifesto talks about processes and tools are good, but individuals and interactions are even better. But from a lean startup perspective, actually we want team, vision and discipline. It's the kind of teams working together, having that common vision about what you're trying to improve and working together in a disciplined way. It's more than just individuals and interactions. Okay, comprehensive documentation, you need some documentation, but what we're really trying to do from the Agile Manifesto's perspective is deliver working software. But you know what? Why do we want to deliver working software? Because we want validated learning. Are we building the right thing? So validated learning over working software over comprehensive documentation. Contract negotiation, yeah, we need contracts. But even better than that is customer collaboration. But what if you haven't got any customers? Well, you need to do customer discovery. So Lean Startup is all about figuring out who are your customers, who's going to buy your product. Does anybody want to buy your product? And then you've got following a plan. Yeah, we need plans, but even better is to respond to change. But actually, what if we initiate the change? So we're actually leading rather than just following the change. So that's the kind of a Lean Startup, and it gives you some different ways of looking at the manifesto. And what the Lean Startup is doing, so this is called the 3 Horizons model. This was popularised most recently by Geoffrey Moore in Crossing the Chasm. He's saying for organisations to be successful, you need to have products in your portfolio that look across all these horizons. And most organisations just focus on Horizon 1. These are our cash cows. These are the things that we make money in now. That's normally where organisations, and even agile organisations, are focusing. Let's just build new features on our existing product line, new versions of our existing products to make money now. But actually, at the other end, you've got these things in Horizon 3, and this is where Lean Startup comes into it. You need to have things in your portfolio which are just exploring options. What new technologies are out there that we might use? What new markets, what new products might we build? Let's run some experiments, let's get some fast feedback, and then as we discover which ones we think are worth investing in, we move them into Horizon 2. That's more of an investment in bringing things to market, and then we bring things to market in Horizon 1. So if you're just doing Agile in Horizon 1, great, but you need to be thinking around what's in your portfolio and what's in Horizon 2 and what's in Horizon 3. I think Lean Startup really got people thinking around the Horizon 3. So then across the whole enterprise, how do those things fit together, and how does work flow from Horizon 3, identifying what we want to build, investing in Horizon 2, and pulling it into Horizon 1? So this is a model that a colleague of mine when I was at Rally Software, Zach Neese, put together, which was trying to visualize that in a nice big picture. So we've got the safe big picture. This is the enterprise Lean Startup big picture. Forming little teams, doing some problem solution, business model discovery, pivoting, persevering, and validating, and eventually kind of saying, okay, this is good, this is worth investing in, transitioning it through into Horizon 1 where you're operating. And once you're in the operating, you're kind of in this thing. So you've got safe. Safe is now, you're now kind of saying, how do we put lots of people and lots of teams on this thing that's going to generate us lots of money? So the idea of scaled agile is a valid problem to solve for your Horizon 1 things. So I thought it'd be interesting to do the Kent Beck thing Fortunately, I'm not an Agile Manifesto signatory, but I thought it'd be fun to do this anyway. How would you expand on the Agile Manifesto from a scaled Agile perspective? So we've got processes and tools, we value individuals and interactions more. I think at scale, we're talking about, well, we value collaborating value streams. Let's really focus on what is the value stream that we're delivering and get people collaborating around that. Comprehensive documentation, we value working software more. Actually, we value impactful solutions. Are the things that we're delivering having an impact on our market? I know impactful isn't a proper word really, but I couldn't find a better one. But it's not just about working software, it's about having an impact on the market. Contract negotiation, and we value customer collaboration. At scale, you've got lots of stakeholders. It's more about stakeholder empathy. Who are all the stakeholders in the business? I think it's more than just customers when you're working at scale. Responding to plan, yeah, we value that. Responding to change, but actually absorbing disruption. So just having that change, allowing that change to happen, absorbing it, being resilient, bouncing back, and you got things like anti-fragile. So actually not just absorbing it, but bouncing back even stronger as an organisation. So there's some things around Agile there, and understanding that Agile isn't just about teams. We do need small teams, and we do need to do this kind of lean startup stuff. But we need to have agility at scale as well, and we need to be doing this across the whole organisation. So then we can look at lean. So I think lean is more about how do we run businesses. Lean isn't okay. Lean comes from product companies, but it's really a way of thinking out businesses. So you go back to Deming. And Deming was talking about his system of profound knowledge where, we need to understand systems, the knowledge of systems and how systems work. We need to understand the variation within the system. We need to understand a theory of knowledge and how we learn, and we need to understand psychology and people. There's all these things. These are very big business things that a really successful organisation needs to understand. And I love this quote from John Shuck. So this is John Shuck presenting at a conference last year, I think. And he's talking about lean is actually about learning. Comes back to this idea of learning organisations. What we're trying to do is run experiments, learn what's working, and this is how we absorb disruption. This is how we become resilient, because if we're able to learn, then when things change, we can then learn how to solve new problems. Popular idea at the moment as to how we learn and how lean organisations learn is then the Toyota Carter. Let's make sure we understand what direction as an organisation we're going in, the organisation's true north. What's our shared vision? What are the mental models, some of that kind of fifth discipline stuff. Let's understand where we are now, and what's the small step? What small improvement can we make to improve our current condition, and then we can iterate. And the Toyota Carter has a whole set of questions that we can ask about how we learn. And this is where the A3 as a tool and a document comes into it, because that's how we learn, that's how we collaborate. So I've talked about A3s a bit, I've not really said what an A3 is. A3 refers to an 11 by 7 piece of paper. It's a single sheet of paper through which we generally follow a structured story, a structured conversation. Generally, and the format's generally like this, so we're kind of usually looking at, there's a number of sections in there, and I like to think about it, some of it is looking back, let's look at what's happened, let's look at the problem, let's look at the current situation, let's do some analysis on that, root cause analysis, look at the current conditions, and then let's start looking forward. Okay, what are we going to do with that? So the idea of divergence, coming with lots of options, convergence, looking forward, coming up with some solutions, trying things out. And because it's a single piece of paper, you don't get bogged down by the documentation, you get bogged down by the bureaucracy. You can walk around with it, you can stick it in front of people, you can talk about it, you can update it. So these are the 5 CUS. Conciseness, collaboration, co-creation, quality, and knowledge. Okay, the last one's not really a C. So because it's a single piece of paper, it's concise. You've got to get those ideas about the learning and the problems down onto a single piece of paper. But because it's a single piece of paper, it's really easy to co-create it. Everybody can gather around it, you can pass it around, you can update it generally do it with a pencil and rubber. So that creates collaboration, everybody works on it. we can get really rapid feedback on it because of the collaborating, so you get higher quality solutions, and what you're generating is knowledge. And a single piece of paper, what organisations do is it's really easy to distribute it, so you can stick them on the wall. You really used to walk up, see what problems people are working on, look at what solutions they've tried. Maybe they'll try something and it didn't work, but you've now got a nice single piece of paper that captures that knowledge that is being generated. So A3 is around this, getting people to focus on being concise, collaborating together, co-creating solutions, coming up with quality solutions, and sharing all the knowledge that's been generated. So if we put Lean and Agile together, we get this idea of we can run product businesses. Agile is delivering products, Lean is running a business. We can combine the two, get the power of two, and use a whole variety of A3s to help us run and become learning organisations in product businesses. So I'm just going to run through a few different styles of A3s that I've seen and I've used in the past. This is a team A3. This is one and we used at Rally, and this is based on Christopher Avery model. If you know Christopher Avery, he had a whole process that he takes teams through. So as a team, what are we working on? So we form the team, what task are we working on? What motivates us as a team, as an individually? And what skills and what talents do we bring to the team? So this is kind of understanding who we are, why we've come together, what we're trying to achieve, and then how are we going to work together? So now we're starting to look forward on this side. What are our working agreements? What's the goal? What's the thing that's really going to kind of a single shared vision? How we define success, and what are the risks and dependencies on it? Single sheet of paper, really easy to come up with one of these. Single, and you can stick it on your team wall. People can come in, can see it, can talk about it, and you can update it really easily. So you can do these for forming teams. And then as a team, you're going to work on initiatives. So do this a lot, particularly with scaled agile teams. You're going to put them together, create a value stream. What's your initiative? Again, single piece of paper, you can keep it really simple, and it's kind of taking the canvas format. Again, this is one that we used when I was at Rally Software. What problem are we trying to solve? Who are we solving the problem for? What's the value? What's the risks? And then maybe getting to possible solutions, assumption dependencies, feedback, etc. Bringing in some of the ideas of cost of delay. Really concise, really easy to collaborate on, so everybody's really clear on what are we working on as a team. So that's about delivery, and then we're into problem solving, because we're going to start delivering and we're going to discover things that don't work quite as well as we'd like them to. This is a template that I think Henrik Nieberg put together. So this is probably, if you search for A3s, this is the traditional one. This is the one that's most common in problem solving. What's the background? What's the current condition? And what's the target condition? So where are we? Where would we like to get to? Root cause analysis, root condition analysis. So what's causing that? And then what things could we try? What experiments could we run? How are we going to know whether the experiment's working? What things do we want to do next? A variation on that is what's called an experiment at A3. So again, I did a lot of this at Rally, which is why a lot of the examples are from Rally Software. Dave Snowden from Cognitive Edge with Cynefin, he has a similar version of this. This is more taking a more complexity perspective, where we're bringing in the idea that actually, and there's a background and really focusing on this as a hypothesis that we're trying to test. And if we're going to run an experiment, down at the bottom, how do we make this experiment safe? Because we know that it's complex. We don't know what's going to happen. We can't predict it. Things might not work out. Again, the experiment backlog and results and learning and next steps. So more focusing on the complex side of the Cynefin diagram. And then how do you tie these together? So we've got problem solving. Well, big problem solving. We're trying to execute as teams. What's the strategy? So again, another Rally format. Every department, when I was at Rally, used to put together a strategic A3 like this every quarter. So how are we performing as a department? Some reflections on that, and some rationale about what we think we should do for the next quarter, and then a really simple plan. What are we doing in Q1, Q2, Q3, 4? Really high level, but very strategic, direction based. What are we going to do next? And then the different departments could share these really easily. So one is within the department, you could create one of these very quickly, and then every department could share these, and we used to do a quarterly meeting to discuss plans as an organisation, what are the organisation goals, and fill one of these in. And then this is, I kind of think this is the daddy of them all. This is the X matrix. This is really tying everything together. What results are we trying to achieve? What are our strategies? What are the rocks, departmental initiatives, tactical things we're going to do? What improvements we're going to make? What are the indications of improvement? If you want to come to my talk tomorrow, I'm going to spend a lot more time on the X matrix, because this is, I think, I love this one. I think this is potentially one of the most powerful things. Again, single piece of paper, really easy to collaborate on, really concise, really visual. Okay, I'm running out of time. So thinking about how do we use A3s within systems, creating system thinking, so that I think they're really a really good format to help kind of create that shared vision, help teams learn together, help teams improve. They are a mental model in themselves, and they kind of help you share your mental models. Whole lot of books there that are worth reading. These are kind of a lot of the things some of them I mentioned already, but the ideas that have inspired this talk, I guess. I think what we're trying to get to is the concept of business steering. Going back to the S&P 500, those organisations are getting shorter and shorter because they just point and go. The agile organisation is one that can steer. As disruption happens, they can absorb it, they can change direction. And the metaphor of sailing, where maybe you're sailing against the wind, maybe you're sailing with the wind, but it's not just, you don't just point the boat in the right direction and hope that it gets there. You're constantly kind of tacking backwards and forwards, working as a crew, working as an organisation to get there. And just to wrap up, this is this is Birling Gap. This is near where I live, down near Brighton in the UK. And about March last year, so just over a year ago, we had really, really bad storms. And the cliffs just kind of dropped off, and there was 7 years of coastal erosion in about 2 weeks. And I think there were about 5 minutes. So you can see that house there, it's right on the edge. There was a good 5 meters of land between that house and the cliff, and then it just dropped off. And they were interviewing environmentalists around what do we do about this? And basically the guy went, well, we've got to adapt to change. We've just got to deal with it. That you can't put in hard sea defences. You can't stop this happening. I thought that's a really good metaphor for lean, agile organisations. You can't stop the market. You can't stop your competition. You can't put in just defences and hope that nothing's going to happen. We have to be able to adapt to change, and change will happen. So I think A3s are a really good tool to socialise change and help organisations become lean organisations. So I'm around today and tomorrow. I've got another talk where I'm going to focus more on the X matrix tomorrow. Email with questions, or just come up and find me and talk to me. Thank you.